The Jews knew that they had to act fast. They had to find a way to stop the prophecy from coming true, and they had to do it before it was too late. They met in secret, using their knowledge of the scriptures to devise a plan. They shared their hopes and fears, and ignored the skeptics who thought they were wasting their time. As they gathered, they began to share their stories. They talked about their beliefs, and they talked about their hopes for the future. They knew that they were the chosen people, and that they had a special role to play in the world. They believed in their cause, and they were willing to fight for it. But there were those who did not believe in their cause. There were those who thought that the Jews were crazy, that they were fake Jews, pretenders, and that they were wasting their time. They thought that the world was doomed, and that there was nothing that anyone could do to stop it. The idea that the Jews of today are fake Jews has a long and dark history. It originated from a medieval legend that claimed that the Jews descended from a Turkic people called the Khazars, who converted to Judaism in the 8th century. This legend was revived and popularized by anti-Semitic writers and movements in the 19th and 20th centuries, who used it to deny the Jewish connection to the land of Israel and to undermine the legitimacy of Zionism. Today, this narrative is adopted by various extremist and hateful groups, such as the Black Hebrew Israelites, the Nation of Islam, and the Christian Identity Movement, who claim that they are the true descendants of the biblical Israelites, and that the Jews are impostors who have stolen their identity and heritage. But the Jews knew better. They knew that there was hope, and they knew that they could make a difference. They believed in their cause, and they were willing to fight for it. The Jews reject the fake Jews narrative as a baseless and malicious lie, and they defend their identity and faith with pride and dignity. They point out the historical and genetic evidence that proves their descent from the ancient Israelites and the cultural and religious continuity that preserves their connection to the land of Israel and the scriptures. They also emphasize the diversity and inclusivity of the Jewish people, who come from different ethnicities, races, and backgrounds, and who share a common bond of values, traditions, and beliefs. As they worked on their plan, they began to see a glimmer of hope. They realized that their only chance was to work together and to stay strong in the face of adversity. The fake Jews narrative poses a serious challenge and threat to the Jews' quest for peace, as it fuels hatred and violence against them from their enemies. The Jews have to face constant attacks and accusations from those who want to destroy them and their cause. But the Jews do not give up on their quest for peace, and they do not let the fake Jews narrative discourage or divide them. They stand together as one people, and they work together as one team. They use their knowledge of the scriptures to find hope and guidance, and they use their courage and determination to fight for their cause. But there was another aspect of the fake Jews narrative that the Jews had to consider. It was the possibility that some of the groups that claimed to be the true Israelites could actually have some connection to the lost tribes of Israel. According to the Tanakh, the kingdom of Israel was divided into two after the death of King Solomon. The kingdom of Judah in the south, which consisted of the tribes of Judah and Benjamin, and the kingdom of Israel in the north, which consisted of the other 10 tribes. In the 8th century BCE, the kingdom of Israel was conquered by the Assyrian Empire, and its people were deported and scattered among the nations. These 10 tribes became known as the Lost Tribes of Israel, and their fate and whereabouts have been a subject of speculation and debate ever since. Some of the groups that claim to be the true Israelites, such as the Black Hebrew Israelites, base their claims on the idea that they are descended from the lost tribes of Israel. They believe that some of the Israelites who were exiled by the Assyrians migrated to Africa, and that their descendants were later enslaved and brought to America. They also believe that they have preserved some of the customs and traditions of the ancient Israelites and that they have fulfilled some of the prophecies that relate to the restoration of Israel. The Jews were intrigued and curious about this possibility, and they wondered if there was any truth to it. They knew that the Tanakh promised that one day God would gather the scattered Israelites from all the nations and bring them back to their land. They knew that the Tanakh also said that God would make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, and that he would write his law on their hearts. They knew that the Tanakh also spoke of a time when the two kingdoms of Israel and Judah would be reunited under one king, who would be a direct descendant of David through his paternal line. The Jews decided to investigate this possibility and to examine the evidence and arguments of the groups that claimed to be the true Israelites. They decided to study the history and the genetics of the lost tribes of Israel, and to compare them with the history and the genetics of the groups that claim to be their descendants. They decided to explore the customs and the traditions of the groups that claim to be the true Israelites, and to compare them with the customs and the traditions of the ancient Israelites. They decided to analyze the prophecies and the scriptures that the groups that claim to be the true Israelites used to support their claims, and to compare them with the prophecies and the scriptures that the Jews used to support their claims. But the Jews also decided to be respectful and open-minded, and to acknowledge the different perspectives and opinions that existed on this issue. They decided to listen to the groups that claim to be the true Israelites and to understand their beliefs and identities. They decided to be tolerant and compassionate, and to recognize the commonalities and the differences that they had with them. They decided to be peaceful and cooperative, and to seek their dialogue and friendship. The Jews made their choice. They chose to investigate, but they also chose to be respectful. They chose to explore, but they also chose to be open-minded. They chose to analyze, but they also chose to be tolerant. And as they made their choice, they began to see a ray of light. They knew that they had made the right choice and that they could make a difference. Hi, I'm Kemet, and I am narrating for Gino DiCaprio. Will the Jews be able to stop the prophecy from coming true? What will happen to the world if they fail? Find out in the next chapter.